I was going to start over, I would let Neal recruit me, and that's where I would start from scratch. So, yeah, thanks for having me on. Uh, really appreciate you guys and everything that you do. I'm super excited for Daniel and then Francis. I mean, Francis issued more last month than I did the first like 6 years personally, which is insane. Um, but that just shows the fact that you guys really are in the right place at the right time with the right system with the right people doing the right thing. Um, and that's what it's really all about. Yeah, that time I spent with you guys in Nashville a few weeks ago, that was a blast. I think I'm just going to come out there every week and just we won't talk as much as we did last time. We'll actually get some stuff done, but but it was super fun. I wanted to first of all explain to you the sign behind me. So you pointed out I'm at the grocery store. So my earliest memory as a child was an armed robbery. We were My parents owned a grocery store called E&T Grocery. It was a little small country store in Kosciuszko, Mississippi. And when I was almost 4 years old, we were robbed at gunpoint with sawed-off shotguns. And my mom, uh, they put me in the middle of the two guys with the gun, put the gun to my face, and my mom walked out and grabbed me and walked down to the ice cooler, the big walk-in beer cooler, and put me in there. And then she walked back to the front of the store and proceeded to get robbed. And yeah, so that was my first. That's so my parents, incidentally, not too long after that, sold the store, but it was really a few years later. And then that's where we ended up leaving Mississippi and ended up in California. Well, the people that my mom sold the store to had a gambling problem, so they uh, put the store up as collateral to the Riverboat Casino, and then they ended up losing the store. So when my father passed away, he wanted to be buried in Mississippi. We went back there, and my cousin, we were driving past the store, and it had been vacant for years. And the casino owned it,
Hey, leave it alone now.
and so we took the sign off the building and stole it. So I stole the sign off a casino owned building that the guys that bought from us lost in gambling. But that's how I got the sign. So this sign's older than me, and it's the original one, E&T Grocery. So that's where that came from. Um, that's a little bit of a long story, but I thought I'd tell you guys that. I don't tell too many people that story. I'm excited to talk with you guys about the growth that we've had, and more importantly about the growth that you guys are having, and how if you're new, you guys really are in the right place with the right people. I think that what Neal and MJ have um, is really the talk of FFL, and nobody really realizes it yet. You guys are on the right track. And the fact that Francis was able to go out there and help 650 families in a month issued, and Daniel's crushing it, and so many other people on track for Hall of Fame, if not already hitting it, with the system that you have selling IULs is incredible. And it's the right focus. One thing I'll tell you is in 2016, the major focus in Family First Life, we used to have what we call 4 quadrants. And the quadrants were mortgage protection, final expense. That was one quadrant. The second quadrant was IULs. Third quadrant was annuities. And the fourth quadrant was annual reviews or referrals. And our business exploded using that model. That's how we got to about $500 million a year issue paid premium as a company. 450, we probably got to that just with that model. And then, of course, mortgages went down, interest rates went up, less mortgage leads, lots of changes happened in the industry. A lot of final expense carriers changing. A lot of stuff was happening. There's a tide of change inside of the insurance industry. And what I realized when I sat with Neal a few weeks ago is you guys are on the front end of a major tidal wave that's going to last several years. You guys are in front of the next big thing in the industry, whether you realize it or not. So now the 4 quadrants for Family First Life are IUL and annuities. That's one quadrant. Mortgage protection, final expense, that's 2 and 3, and then annual reviews and referrals. That's quadrant number 4. But the major focus is what you guys are doing with the Simple Retirement Solutions, and the fact that you have a lead source that you can get in front of people that are interested in simplifying their retirement, in tax-free retirement, in accumulating wealth and generational income and all those different things. You have the keys to the castle when it comes to that. The leads are affordable. The system you have is incredible. It's something that's duplicatable. It's something that's replicatable. And there's a ton of people in your organization that are having success with it. So the way I see this is the fundamentals are the same as they've always been. It's run, tackle, block, catch. That's what it is. Run, tackle, block, catch. The fundamentals never change. The fundamentals in this business back when I started in 2014 are the same as they are today. Here's what they are. Um, Simply, work 40 hours a week, spend your time talking to people who are interested in insurance, buy leads, learn how to be profitable, rinse and repeat. It's the same thing. Like people say, one of the big challenges when you get started in this, and I know there's a lot of new people, so I'll tell you what some of the hiccups are, is this idea that you have to know everything before you get started. The reality is the IUL business is really simple. And that's kudos to Neal for keeping it simple and being able to teach it simply and get people to understand it simply. Because a lot of people have looked at this like it's rocket science, and it's not rocket science. It's simple. It's as simple as any life insurance sale. So the big mistake that most people make is they think they have to learn every single thing about every single product and every single objection that might ever come up in any way, shape, or form before they take the first step. They're waiting for all the lights to turn green before they even leave the house. And the beautiful thing about this is you don't have to be good to start, but you do have to start in order to get good. And so if you're brand new, what I would encourage you to do is just double your rate of failure. It is okay to have no sales. It is okay to have no shows. It's okay to buy leads and not make a huge profit in the beginning. When I started, my mindset was, because I was a master at losing money. I was good at it. So I'd been bankrupt. I'd lost my house. I'd lost the cars. My wife stayed with me. And I was like, holy cow, like everything's good. Like if that's as bad as it is, it ain't really that bad. So I didn't have a lot of fear of like investing money and losing money. That was probably my biggest strength when I showed up. Was as bad as it ever was, I was still alive and my wife stayed with me. So one thing I learned in that experience was that to not care so much about what everybody else thought and to not try to fix years of problems in 1 or 2 weeks. See, if you looked at my financial background, you would said, I had 10 years of wreckage behind me. And I wasn't going to turn that around in a week or two. And I think a lot of people show up and they say, well, I have all these problems. I want to fix them. And the reality is people overestimate what they can do in a week or two, but they underestimate what they can accomplish in a year or two. And so what my goal, the way I would communicate this to everybody is, let's just make sure the next 2 years isn't as bad as the last 2 years. Let's just make that the starting point and understand that nobody's perfect. This is a process of ups and downs where you're always getting better with the ups so the downs don't last as long. The biggest mistake people make here is they try to compare themselves to everybody else and they start telling themselves, well, I should be this and I should be that. And because of this, I should be here. You can't grow from where you think you should be. You can only grow from where you actually are. And that's okay. So start where you are and let's just make progress toward where you want to go and give yourself time to figure it out. What I tell people is the best decision you can make is just make a decision to be here a year from now doing this system with these people. If you're consistently setting appointments to talk to people about insurance, showing up to the appointments to talk to people about insurance, talking to them about the insurance, following up when necessary, and buying new leads to do it again, it's impossible for you to do that for a year and not have cracked the code on profitability and writing your own check in this business. I don't know the person that's consistently done the activity for a year consistently that isn't light years ahead of where they thought they would be at any particular time. My worst times in insurance were still better than anything else I could ever do. Like I remember one time I picked Sean Mike. You guys know Sean Mike. He's our CEO. And I picked him up at the airport. It was in Las Vegas. And we're driving around. And he's in the car and he's going like this. Because he thinks I'm going to hit something. And he goes, can you even see? And I go, Yeah. He goes, bro, this insurance thing has got to work for you. And I go, really? Why? He goes, because you cannot drive Uber. that was that was my only other option was to go drive Uber, and I wasn't going to be a good Uber driver. So I realized if I could just stick it out long enough that I could figure this out. No matter how bad it was, I still had more cash flow than I normally would have had, and I kept getting better. The thing I realized early on is your clients, they don't have a weekly Zoom call to learn how to overcome objections and get better. Like they're not having Zoom calls to give you better objections. They're all the same. They don't have Zoom calls to come up with better questions to ask you. It's always going to be the same questions. So if you can equip yourself to learn the answers to those questions and you say what Francis says, you're going to get the results that Francis gets if you just do it consistently. That's just the way it is. It's just a matter of probability. It's not a possibility. And so if you could just keep that in mind when you're starting, not beat yourself up, not compare yourself to everybody else, and then learn to get your self-esteem from just doing the work. I remember one time I was at a conference. We do these regional sales conferences, and Sean Mike had came out from I don't know Connecticut at the time. This is where he lived, and this was maybe Las Vegas or Southern California somewhere. And I remember in this meeting, and Sean goes, "Trey, you recruit a lot of people. When they say like how many appointments should they run a week, like what do you tell them?" And the person that recruited me in the business, Andrew, he was a pro. So Andrew would run 15 appointments a week and write 10K. He did that every week. And so I was like, I tell him 15 appointments a week, 2 days a week in the field. And he goes, you tell him what? And I said, 15 appointments a week, 2 days in the field. He goes, that's not the right answer. And I go, well, what is it? And he goes, they don't have any money. They need to work every day because they don't have any money. And I was like, oh, okay. So when you're starting out, the easiest way to compress time frames in this business, the mistake I made is I modeled somebody's work schedule because they were already really good at it. So I tried to get the same results doing 15 appointments a week as somebody who'd been in the business for 5 years already. What I should have done is run 35 appointments a week so that I could get the same result, because that would have compressed the time frames and I would have gotten there quicker. So you make up in you make up in numbers what you lack in skill. So in the beginning, it's okay to have to do more to get the same result. That doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever. I hope that makes sense. Easton Patton's one of my favorite people. Easton is the worst agent in the field of any agent I've ever known starting out. He was like 2 for the first 64 appointments. Easton is also one of a handful of people that's written $1 million personally in a year. The same agent that was really, really bad at the beginning became one of the best ever in the insurance profession. Why? Because he learned early on to double his rate of failure. Don't get your esteem from the result. Get your esteem from doing the work, and then eventually the results will come. One thing people do when they start out is they try to control things that they really have no control over. And so here's a story I like to tell people. You can't control the outcomes, but you can control the inputs. Like, you can't control the results, but you can control the conditions. So my son, which he's 18, he's about to turn 18. So when in a few months he'll be 18, but he's going into his senior year of high school. And when he was in 7th grade, they had a flag football team at his school. And we were like, flag football, because we watch this stuff on ESPN and like kids get like paralyzed and stuff playing football. So we're like, we don't really want him to play football. I don't want him to get his back broke. And so he came home and he's like, hey, we got flag football. I'm like, flag football? That sounds great. Like, you just get the guy and pull the flag. Like, you can't get hurt to a flag? Sounds good. Well, what I didn't realize was, like, in flag football, like, you can't tackle the quarterback or the receiver, but you still have to block. There's still contact, right? So he goes out to his first flag football game, and the school that they were playing And this is no exaggeration. This school was probably a prison school because every kid on that school was like 6'4", 250 with a mustache. It was unbelievable. So he's on the line. I don't know a lot about football. You figure this out as I go. But he's on the line and he's trying to block so the quarterback doesn't get sacked. Whatever line that is, that's what he's doing. It's him and four other dudes. And the other team is trying to get the quarterback's flag. Well, on the other team, there's one big guy that's just the first football play of his life. He ran through all the kids, got the quarterback's flag, knocked everybody down. The next play, two of the kids just went to the sideline. They didn't want nothing to do with it. So it's Emery and another kid. He runs past them, pushes Emery down, gets the quarterback's flag. On the third play, the other kid stepped back. He was going to, I don't know what he thought he was going to do, but he wasn't up close. So it was just Emery and this kid. And this kid was literally much, much bigger. He outweighed Emery 80 pounds. So he hits Emery, and Emery flips over in the air. It literally does a backflip and lands with his hands back on his wrist. And I hear, ah! And I'm like, oh, God. I don't want to run out there and be like the parent that's carrying him off the field, right? So I'm trying not to embarrass him. And I can see from where I'm at that his wrist is flat, like it's broke, like you can see it. So I'm like, uh-oh. So he gets up and grabs his wrist. He's walking over to the sideline. And it really hasn't struck him yet how bad it hurts, but I can tell it hurts. And I go, how was your first day of football, son? And he goes, this is the worst day of my life. He goes, Dad, can I sell these football cleats and buy an iPhone? That's the first thing he said. So I'm like, okay, it hasn't hit him yet, which I thought was clever. So as soon as I get him to the car, he starts howling and he realizes my wrist is broke. So we get him to the ER. They come out, they look at it like, yeah, it's definitely broke. Just wait here. So he's waiting there and he says, Dad, is the doctor going to fix my wrist? And I said, no. The doctor doesn't fix your wrist. I go, that's not the doctor's responsibility. It's up to God to heal your wrist. But what the doctor is going to do is he's going to set the right conditions. So as long as you follow his instructions, your wrist will heal. Because he's not in charge of the result. The doctor is just in charge of putting the right conditions. What are those conditions? Setting it, putting a cast on it, making sure it stays on there for 8 weeks, making sure you don't get it wet, making sure you don't scratch underneath it, that you're not swinging on the monkey bars, that you don't fall on it again or hit it again on anything. And if you follow those instructions, there's a pretty good probability that your wrist will be as good as new in 6 to 8 weeks. That's how it is in this business. You can't control the outcome. That's not up to you. But what you can control is setting the right conditions. So what are the right conditions? Get on every conference call. Don't miss any. Show up to every in-person event. Register for the national conference. Register for the Ignite conference in Fort Lauderdale on October 21st. Don't miss the call. Show up to the dial room. Buy leads every week. Find an accountability partner that you can work out with, somebody that'll hold you accountable. Now, when I say that, people are like, well, that's somebody to motivate me. No, that's not somebody to motivate you. Like Neal and Francis are in the same office. They're accountability partners, but Neal has never called Francis to make sure he got out of bed on time. I promise you that's never happened. They hold each other accountable by their activity, but it's more so he's not there to motivate him. He's just there to celebrate when he is motivated. Okay? So that's what an accountability partner is, and we all need that. We all need a workout partner. Somebody that if it's Saturday and they post in your guys' group communication channel, whatever that is, if it's Slack or whatever y'all use, Telegram or Discord, whatever you guys use, Facebook, whatever it is, and Francis posts, hey, I just sold one for $400 a month, and Neal's eating pancakes, watching YouTube videos, then he'll be like, oh, wow, if Francis sold one, I got to get on the phone, and he'll get on the phone. You guys should all have that. And what I would encourage you to do is if you don't have that person, recruit that person. A mistake that people make early on is they think that they can't recruit anyone until they've sold X amount of business themselves. And my philosophy when I started out was totally different than that. Like I was trying to recruit people right away because then it became more about FFL than it was about me. Because if they just based the results based off my results, I probably wouldn't have recruited that many people. I was not the best salesperson in the beginning. But what I got really good at was recruiting people that were better at it than me, because what I did was I promoted our team and our system and Family First Life and what Family First Life did, not my results. So if you're brand new, you can talk about the lead system that you guys have. You can talk about the recruiting system that you guys have. You can talk about the CRM that you use and how it helps book appointments and how this is the number one selling IUL team in Family First Life, and inevitably will be the number one selling IUL team for National Life Group in the country. I believe that. Now, I also want to be number one, but I'm pretty sure that Neal and MJ, they're going to pass me in this regard, because you guys really are in the right place at the right time. What's unique about what you have is this is a system where the leads are inexpensive, the market is right for what you have, it's perfect for virtual sales because you can do it on Zoom. You can recruit 20 people in your backyard and show them how to write $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month. And you can take a team of 20 and 30 people and get them to $1 million a month. For me to get to $1 million a month, it was like 200 and something writers to do that. So you guys really are in a very unique position, and I'm excited for everything you have ahead of you. So I don't know if I rambled on a lot, if there was something you wanted me to say, Neal, that I didn't say, but I'll turn it back over and see if anybody has any questions.
That was excellent. Thank you.
That was awesome, Trey. Thank you.
Great perspective, right?
Well, Neal was like, hey, I want you to talk about this stuff on the call. Yeah, I'm sure you could do it. I'm like, Neal, I did it 2 more times today. Right. So this is my third one. Yeah, I didn't say all the good stuff to them that I said about you guys, but I really didn't. You could go watch the videos, trust me.
Yeah. So let's open up the questions, and I guarantee you I've never been eating pancakes watching YouTube when Francis posted that he just wrote.
That's a fact.
But you were in here, you saw it. It's a really great chemistry, and we're just happy. I mean, Francis, when he does what he does, even when he doesn't do what he's a great partner and a running mate to have in the office. And that's really, 1 + 1 is like 10. It's not 2, which I think is what you're saying. If you don't have that person, go recruit that person. So, fantastic. So let's open it up to the group. Lazaro, you've got your hand up. You always have great comments and questions. So go ahead and turn your camera on if you can.
Sorry, I'm driving. Can you guys see me?
We can see you.
Yeah. Hey, Trey. So thank you for sharing your success story. I mean, I find it very inspirational, and I got a lot of value from it. I'm personally a new agent starting up. I'm just waiting for the writing numbers. But my question to you will be, based on your experience, what has been a business challenge that you have faced, the worst one, and what did you do to overcome it?
Yeah. So the biggest mistake you could make is listening to the wrong people, spending your time with the wrong people. And sometimes the top producer can be the wrong person. I don't know how to say that nicely, but you got to get good at not allowing people, excuse my language, I don't know a better way to say it. You got to get good at not allowing people to piss in your ear. That's a skill set that you have to develop, because misery loves company. And if it's not working for somebody, the thing that everybody wants to do is make sure it doesn't work for you either, because then it validates why they are failing. And the beautiful thing about this system is it's simple. Oscar and these guys, they're recruiting like crazy. The numbers are showing up. People are writing business every single week. And it's a simple system for a reason. The truth is, people don't like simple, because when it's simple and it doesn't work, then it's you. Everybody loves calculus, because if it's calculus and you fail at it, well, it was calculus. So nobody wants to keep it simple, because the only thing that could go wrong in a simple system is it's your fault. So you'll have a lot of people over the course of time that aren't going to get the results that they should be getting, or they're not going to put the work in, or they're going to find something to complain about. And the number one thing they're going to try to do is complain to you and tell you how it isn't going to work, because it'll validate why they're not succeeding. So the biggest challenge, the biggest lesson I had to learn was to not listen. just literally not allow people to complain to me. Like if it works, it'll be because of you. And if it doesn't work, it'll be because of you. And what that means is if it works out, Neal's not going to take any of the credit. He's going to give you all the credit. And if it doesn't work out, Neal's not going to take any of the blame. It's going to be all your fault. So that's a blessing. That's really what you want. So I think that's my number one challenge.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing. I definitely shut off all distractions. They teach on how to and Think and Go Rich in the book. So I like that you shared that.
Amen. That's right. Thank you.
Who's next? Bueller? Anybody have any questions for Trey? Wangu, you've got your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Trey, for sharing the fact that you don't need to be an expert in order for you to start doing this business. I think most of us, we tend to spend more time in trying to, to learn and learn and learn. And yet, you can still start, you meet clients, and the more mistakes you make, the more you learn. And so thank you for sharing that, because for new people, really, usually they just want to learn, ask questions, look at the videos. And I mean, you can do all that while you're still doing business.
Right.
And thank you so much. That's very important for us.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I think one of the things to keep in mind is 25% of the people will buy it no matter what. And that is the truth. If you have the appointments, you can mess it up a lot of different ways and they'll still buy it from you because they want it. They want an IUL. They want some life insurance. That's what they ask for. So if you just put the numbers in your favor, you can make a living off 25% of the people saying yes. Now, 25% of the people won't say yes to anybody. It's just the way it is. Like, there's nothing you can really do about that. And as you go along and you run into the scenarios through experience, what you'll realize is there's really only about 4 or 5 different scenarios that you ever run into. And through that experience, you learn how to navigate that. So, and that helps you close the other 50%. But you could be really profitable if you just get 30 appointments a week, 40 appointments a week on Zoom. You're gonna write 5 or 6 policies, and you don't have to be good to do that. So, and the good thing about IUL business is the premium's higher. So,
awesome. What did you say before? You don't have to be good to start,
but you do have to start
to get good.
Yeah,
I love that.
Thank you.
Hey, Neal, that's on a poster down the hall in our office. It's on the wall.
I'll go look at it.
I noticed that when I was there. I was like, yes.
I'll move it to your office.
Yeah. I'll put it right here. Awesome. Hey, Danny, you're next. You got your hand up. Just say where you're from. We know you're from Nashville, but for the other guys, go ahead.
Yep. I'm from Nashville, and I apologize. I'm under the weather, so you definitely don't want to see me right now. But Trey, we met virtually a couple of weeks ago when you were in town, so it's nice to hear from you again. And yeah, man, I really needed to hear that, so I appreciate that. I had a good week, then a rough week, then a good week. It's just like, yeah. So I appreciate everything that you said. My question to you is: you talked about leads. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Like, what did you used to do? What are you currently using? What do you find the most success in? I think that's kind of been my biggest challenges right now.
Yeah. And I do remember talking to you, Danny. I mean, you're really accomplished in your background, so you'll definitely succeed at this. It might be a learning curve in the beginning, but you're just lacing up your track spikes. You're just getting going, so it's okay. Lead wise, the system that Neal uses with the Facebook leads and the CRM, that's a great way to start for IULs. And another good tool for IULs is the Integrity Lead Center. The leads in there for IUL leads, if you buy the ones that are 30 days old, they're like $10. Those are great leads. Most people buy leads, they don't even work them, which is crazy, but that's the truth. So if you just go buy the old ones, that's a good way to get a lot of reps in. And the other thing is just ask Neal for his old ones. Like one of the biggest lessons that I had early on was I had this batch of 45, maybe it was 80 final expense leads that were direct mail. And I remember I worked those leads like you could have never convinced me that there was a person in that batch of leads that would buy that hadn't already bought from me, because I worked them. I never worked a batch of leads as good as I worked these 80 final expense leads back in the day. And then Andrew, the guy that recruited me, I recruited this lady, and she couldn't even. She basically, when she did the phone script, she read it, and you knew she was reading it. So I was like, I got to get her some good leads. And he's like, dude, just give her your old leads. And I'm like, there's no way she could sell anything off those. Like, I've already worked those. I have worked them. They cannot be sold. So I gave her those 80 leads, and she sold like 3 policies. And then I recruited this other guy, Rondell. And then Andrew was like, give him those leads too. And I'm like, what? There's definitely no way. And then Rondell sold like 10 policies. And then we ended up giving those 80 leads to like 30 different people. And I swear they all wrote new different policies. They got into situations where like the husband got it, the wife didn't. They write the wife got it, but they were more in charge of their budget, so they wanted to get more. They had a child that they wanted to do a policy on. They forgot to make a payment, so the payment lapsed. So then somebody else rewrote them something. I mean, there was always something new that they could get out of those leads. So one of the things that we've gotten away from is everybody thinks, hey, you got to have the brand new ones because we have all these good systems to get people new leads. But if you're working with somebody that's consistent in the field and they're running appointments every week, just take their old stuff. That's a great way to start. And the other way to get started, especially in the IUL market, is just sell people you know. Like, it is perfectly okay for you, Danny, to call 10 people you know and say, hey, I need to practice my presentation and get Neal on a Zoom so you can talk about the benefits of an IUL. You would probably sell 2 or 3 of those, and it would be great, and you'd learn how to do it. And I'm sure, I don't want to volunteer Neal. He's busy. But I'm sure he wouldn't be opposed to doing that. Where there's a will, there's a way. I think that too many people, what they do is they get these roadblocks and they don't try to think past, like they're too stuck in the here and now. All we got to do is just get you to move forward. So as long as you're willing to do the work, we'll jump through hoops like crazy to try to figure it out and figure out a way to move you forward. So, and the other big thing that brings me to the other big thing that people make the mistake of, like if Oscar's brand new and he's out there and he's working the business, the tendency is to think that if he calls Neal or MJ for help, that he's bothering them, that it's on him to figure it all out. That's not the case. Like, it should never be more than 48 hours without you guys reaching out or without Neal reaching out to y'all. And if you didn't hear from Neal, like, you should reach out to him. If you don't hear from Oscar, you should reach out to him. Like, you should be consistently doing that. It's a two-way street. Never feel like you're bothering somebody. It's our job to help. But the big mistake is to isolate and not get around the fire and just fizzle out. And I've seen more people do it that way that don't make it than the people that are just willing to show up and ask the questions and be involved. Now, if you ask the same question 37 times, don't be surprised if someone gets irritated with you. That's okay. That's normal. That's really actually what you want. You want somebody to say, hey, you asked me that 35 times, you should probably just buy the leads. And that's okay. If somebody comes at you like that, realize that's a loving thing for them to do. When people don't care, they usually just don't say nothing. But if somebody cares about your success, they care enough to challenge you. So if you get in a place where you get challenged in the business, where I see a lot of people make a mistake, is they get their feelings hurt and they go run with their tail between their legs and say, well, that doesn't work. I need a new manager. That's not the truth. The truth is they're trying to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, which several times in this business, somebody cared enough about me to tell me the truth, what I needed to hear, not what I wanted to hear. So I hope that makes sense. I taught a lot of stuff into that, but the system that Neal uses with the Facebook leads, that's a home run. And then the ILC, the aged social media IUL leads are also a home run, and you can buy new ones in there too. But the age
That's
ones,
awesome.
I think that's probably the most overlooked strategy, is just buying old ones and booking
Cool.
them.
Awesome.
Thanks, Trey. Appreciate it. That's awesome.
I know your
You're
kids
welcome.
are going back to school, Danny. I'm sorry to hear that you're so sick, you know?
Oh, food poisoning, man. I'll tell you all about it if you really want to. If you really want to know.
Well, you'll feel better in a couple
That's
of
the
days.
worst.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so we have an iPhone with their hand up. So just if you would turn your camera on and tell us who you are, where you're from, and then ask Trey your question. Is he there? I'll ask him to unmute. I'm not sure who that is. There we go.
Neal,
We got you.
I'm Peter Movazian. I'm new in the Zoom business, but I've been in the industry long time. I just want to have a comment for the gentleman, Mr. Honeycutt. It was very encouraging to say that actual failures that led to his success. It's very encouraging for a new agent to hear this, and I'm encouraged of that. That's all,
Well,
Neal, for now.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, that is actually the truth. It really does work that way. And the thing you got to remember is that every single person that's successful in this business started out unlicensed without ever making an insurance sale. So we all started at the same spot. And really, as time goes on, what you'll find out is everybody has to learn the same lessons. It's just sometimes you learn them in different orders. But if you talk to anybody that's been in the business, I mean, Neal's been through every single thing I've been through in the business, truly. I mean, there's not a problem he hasn't encountered that I haven't encountered that you won't one day encounter. And it's just a matter of just doing the consistent activity over time and not getting too excited with the ups and not getting too low with the lows. That's really the key to it.
Awesome.
And then I think perspective. You know, if you perspective is a big thing, because what happens is you can get jaded and forget what it was like when you weren't doing well, and it's easy to take this for granted. Like I was telling somebody the other day, so this year we've been married 20 years this month and next week. So I've been married 20 years. And somebody had asked me, they said, what's the worst fight you ever got into? And I thought with my spouse, you know, and I'm thinking, oh, and I had forgotten about it. But the worst fight we ever got into was over finances. And because of insurance, we've never had to fight over finances really since I started in insurance. But there was a scenario where when my oldest was like 2 years old, my wife worked during the day as a school teacher and I worked at night. So I had the kids all day and then she'd come home and I'd go to work and then she would have the kids at night. And we were really stressed out financially. A lot of people talk about like paycheck to paycheck. We were paycheck between paycheck. So what that was like paycheck, check cashing store, paycheck, you know, paycheck, pawn shop, paycheck. And so my wife would get paid once a month on the first. And our goal was to go to like Costco and buy enough groceries on the first to get us through the whole month. And sometimes we would misjudge it. And we'd end up at the local market with 3 or 4 days left of the month with no money in our account. So we'd have to overdraft the account to get groceries. And this was a repeated cycle. This went on for a long time. And I remember we went into the store and I was trying to get 4 boxes of macaroni and cheese. We had a whole grocery plan. And I told my wife, I said, go over to that aisle and get 4 boxes of macaroni and cheese. And it was like 49 cents a box or something. Or it was 80 cents a box. And she came back with a box of 16 that it turned out to be like 50 cents a box, you know, like you could save 30 cents a box if you bought it in bulk, but it was $6 or $7 more than what we could spend. And I just lost it. I threw it on the floor. I stormed out of the store. I walked 2 miles home got this horrible argument over $8 worth of macaroni and cheese because there's no stress like financial stress. And because of insurance, we've never had any issues like that since, like ever, even when things weren't totally great. And so when I think about the hardest times in insurance are still better than anything else we ever had going. And if you could just keep that perspective of like, you're going to run into challenges and you'll get jaded because you can make good income. And then you'll start saying to yourself, well, I'm not doing as good as I thought I should or whatever, but it's still way better than what you were doing. So you just need to remind yourself of like, some people really have problems. And in this, there aren't any real problems. There's chargebacks, there's no-shows. People you recruit don't do anything. Sometimes people you recruit quit. I mean, that's about as bad as it gets. Customers cancel. Sometimes they get mad at you. I mean, you might have to work on the weekends. It's about as bad as it gets. It doesn't really get any worse than that. So perspective is a big thing.
Thank you. Oscar D, you got your hand up. How you doing, bud?
Hey Neil, good, thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate this meeting. Trey, I really enjoyed what you had to share with us today. I actually took a little note, so I don't really have too many questions. I just want to go over some of the things that you shared and some of the things that I wrote. The first thing I want to tell you is congratulations that you're not an Uber driver.
Congratulations to us all. It's good for all of us.
A couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago to be exact, someone shared about failure, and then you touched on that today as well. And I'm very appreciative of that because these are the things, these are the realities that we have to face at the beginning, right? We don't just run, we have to crawl before we walk, and then we jog, and then we run, and then we sprint. So before we get to that part, there's a process, and failure may be part of that process. So we have to mentally prepare ourselves for it, because I've been in the business before, not IULs, but health insurance, and it's tough at the beginning. So I don't anticipate this to be successful overnight. Obviously, I have to do my work and put in my time. You talked about double rating your failure, how somebody that was very successful before you was working 15 appointments and you follow that same footprint, but it wasn't the same results for you. So you double that. You said, I'm going to do 35 instead of 15. And then, your numbers were better. I think that's very, very good advice. You also talked about inputs will control your outcome. So, you got to put in the work to control your outcome. There's a lot of things you can't control, but you can't control your results, and that's by putting in the work, right? Very good good advice. And then you also said something that I didn't think about, and you talked about rebuttals. Like the people that we talk to, they don't practice their rebuttals, so rebuttals are always going to be the same. So then, that's wow. Like I had that little aha moment when you said that, and I'm like, you know what? I never thought about that. So they're going to tell me they want to think about it. I should I should see it coming. And when I hear that, I should have a response right away, because they don't have a Thursday night meeting to practice their rebuttals. So I think that's really good. And then when you talked about your son, that's very tough. But it was funny because when you said that he broke his arm, I thought you were going to tell him to get up and double rate his failure, and I was like, no. But thanks for being here, man. I really enjoy hearing what you had to share, and I definitely got a lot from it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Glad it helped.
That was an awesome recap. I like that.
Yeah, it really was. It was a good ending for sure.
And then Lazaro, did you have another question, or did you just hit?
Yeah, I have an important question actually that I feel like I could learn from. So Trey, last thing, because I know you mentioned that you would actually double the your mentor's performance to see the results you wanted. So based on your experience now, based on all the presentations you have done to this point, what would you say that you have learned from in doing presentations that you wish you would have done sooner? Like, for example, would you be more aggressive? That sort of thing.
The best thing you could do is to not need the business. So just having a high number of appointments literally solves every problem. Like people don't have a presentation problem, they just don't have enough appointments. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, if you try to fix every other part of the presentation, what I found is like the people that just do enough appointments tend to get the better results over time, no matter what. And there's a few reasons. Early on, John Wetmore, who's part of your guys' hierarchy, who's the greatest trainer in the company, really. In fact, FFL would be here if it wasn't for John Wetmore. John Wetmore got people to think correctly about this early on. And what he said was, he said, because he has an accounting background, and he does everything on a spreadsheet. And so Hall of Fame with FFL is $400,000 worth of premium a year, personal. And Wetmore said, hey, I'm going to hit Hall of Fame. But before I do that, what I want to do is, I know what my numbers are. So if I run 1,000 appointments for the year, I'm going to end up selling 250 of those. And out of those 250, my annual premium will be about $1,000 a house. And that was his goal. He set a goal at the beginning of that year to do 250,000 by running 1,000 appointments, which was 20 appointments a week and 2 weeks off. And he said what happened was, because he committed to doing that level of activity, by October of that year, he was already over 400,000. And everybody said, well, what happened? He goes, well, here's what I learned. He goes, everybody wants to quantify this and break it down to the numbers. But what you can't account for is momentum and getting better. We could never account for that. So if you're doing that consistent, persistent activity over time, the results will be better than what you expect them to be over time, because you can't account for momentum and getting better. So that's how you fix your presentation problem. The best thing I learned about the presentation was just have more of them. And then the second thing is learn how to overcome objections in advance. Like, you shouldn't be handling objections. If you do the presentation right, there really shouldn't be a whole lot of them. So every time you do a presentation, if you write down what they said at the end and keep a diary of what people are saying when they're saying no, and then when you guys have your weekly calls or with your workout partner or with your call with your manager or whatever, bring up those things that are consistently being said, and we'll tailor your presentation to overcome those things before they get told to you. That's all the advice I have on that.
I like that. Thank you.
Awesome.
You're welcome.
Well, brother, we're out of time, and some people have 8 o'clock meetings, but I just want to thank you sincerely for being here. You're just such a great, I mean, I've always said you were a great teacher. Early on, I'm like, were you in multi-level marketing? Because you just, you tell a story, you make a point. You tell a story, you make a point, and you're one of the most, if not the most effective communicator in all FFL. So
Thanks.
we definitely appreciate you. Thanks for jumping on here tonight. If you want a copy of this, I'll send you a link.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sure
I would love one.
you've heard
Thanks,
yourself.
Trey.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. And guys, thanks for jumping on. We'll see you next week. We have Dan Chernati on, who is a beast when it comes to IULs, and he'll do a great job. So we'll improve on getting the link out, because I know we had some challenges getting it out to everybody this time around. So, Leanne, thanks for being the co-admin, letting everybody in. MJ, it's good to see you. I'll see you in a little bit. All right. And congratulations on 20 years, Trey, of marriage. That's the
Thank
big.
you, Trey.
Thank you. All right. I appreciate you guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Good night.
Bye-bye.